Hibernation isn't something an animal just wakes up from, even after surviving here for 7 months. If the transition from oblivion to action isn't exactly right, the marmot could die. It needs what's left of its fat stores to heat its heart. It's a quick system, but it takes almost all of what's left of the marmot's energy. If it takes more than what's left, the marmot never wakes up.
Welcome to Bill Mason Show. How you doing, Bill? And we have a special guest too.
Yeah, well, everybody knows us, so let's bring in Norm. Say hi, Norm.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Everybody's doing great.
Hey, Norm, I'm glad you have us with us, or you with us, or whatever you want to call it. You're a big fixture in North Florida, so I know you have a lot to talk about. And right now, what's going on is Wall Street Bets. They are tearing up the stock market. Looks like some hedge fund companies might go out of business. What do you say, Bill?
I say it's their own fault. It's like leaving your blind side unprotected because they let this happen. They shorted GameStop over 125%. I mean, it's public information, so I could look that up and say, wow, they're very vulnerable. And honestly, it's all legal. Everything that these guys did at Wall Street Bets was completely legal. They just happen to have 4 million users, and they just put it out there that said, hey, anybody who bought AMC, thank you, but I would buy more. And boom, that's all it took. 4 million people spent $100 each. Do the math. I mean, some people went in crazy, and all those guys got caught with their pants down, and now they have to meet the difference, to get out, and they're screwed.
Yeah, just like the banning of conservatives on all social media, now they're trying to ban the retail investor off Reddit, off everywhere.
They took those guys off Reddit. They said they use hate speech. Right. That's the best. That's like the new battering ram for the left. Oh, hate speech. You violated our hate speech. Well, what did I say that was hateful? I mean, they were talking about stocks. I can't imagine what they could say, but this is America. Joe Biden.
Yeah. All right, so just like Janet Yellen called the Wall Street buddies, and they removed GameStop and AMC and some other companies off.
Nokia?
Yeah, Nokia. Yep. They took them off Robinhood, the app, so they can't sell. I mean, they can sell, but they couldn't buy.
They couldn't buy anymore because they wanted to let those guys get out before it started to climb, because you have to get the shares, so you need people to sell so you can get out when you sell short. And all the people were buying, they weren't selling, so they got screwed. I mean, basically, it was their own fault. I hate to say it, but you take a risk in hedge funds. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. So we're going to show you some videos of what happened, what's going on, and looks like right now GameStop is up right now after hours, and so is AMC. So I don't think the hedge funds really know what's going on. Norm, did you get involved in the GameStop or AMC at all? Did you buy any of that stock?
No, I got a phone call from my son. He lives in Vegas the other day. He said, hey, Dad, we got to buy a GameStop or AMC. And I'm like, AMC? I said, I didn't know what was going on. Right. I said, the theaters are empty, dude. I said, they're going to be trying to rent out big box. And then I realized I did my homework. BlackBerry is another one that they bought. Remember the old BlackBerry phones? Everybody had to have one. And, all's fair. I will say this. I have dabbled in the stock market for over 20 years. And the bottom line is, as an end user of buying and selling stock at our level, when Bill was mentioning, y'all were mentioning hedge funds, we're the last to know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If we think there's a deal, I promise you, New York and Chicago has already captured that deal and taken most of the good stuff out. So by the time it hits us, it's really not that good of a deal. So if you want to call it manipulation of the market, I do kind of think it's funny because they kind of flipped the script on the hedge funds, and it is what it is. Now, I will say this: I do have some real dogs still in my portfolio that if you guys come up with a contact for these guys, I would love to give them their symbols so we can jack those prices up, like, the next week, and I can offload some of this stuff. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll slip it over to for them, and so you can just pump that thing up real nice.
There you go.
All right, so just so you be aware, again, we have a lot of videos about that. We have videos about Antifa again. Of course, it's a normal thing on this show, and so we're going to play all that for you. So let's take a look at this next video. What happened to Melvin Capital, a hedge fund? Take a look.
We have some breaking news right now on what has turned into the soap opera and saga of the markets right now, and that is the story of GameStop. The news to bring you right now is that Melvin Capital Management, this is the hedge fund that had shorted this company, that had effectively been attacked by an army of investors trying to push up and press up the stock of GameStop along the way. Melvin Capital is now out of the stock. They got out of the stock, from what I understand, yesterday afternoon. I just got off the telephone with Gabriel Plotkin, who runs that firm. They've taken a rather huge loss. I do not have the full number on what that loss looked like. As was reported yesterday, both Citadel and Point72 have infused something on the order of close to $3 billion into Melvin Capital to try to shore up its finances. And Gabe Plotkin telling me just moments ago that the speculation that the firm would file for bankruptcy is false. There's some reporting taking place on Reddit, where so much of this discussion began and really created the momentum for as I said, an army of investors using options to try to press up that price. To some degree, they might be able to argue now that they succeeded. If this was really about vanquishing, if you will, Wall Street, or vanquishing a hedge fund manager, in this case, they did take a loss. They may have not put them out of business, but boy, did they come close. We've been following this story, which has been such a wild one. GameStop shares right now, I mean, I can't, I don't even know what to say. It's up 131%, $342. On any kind of fundamental basis, if the stock were worth more than $20 or $30, I think it would be, something to behold. Real questions, of course, about stock manipulation, about the power of what's taking place on places like Reddit, really what's motivating this type of trading behavior at all. It clearly has nothing to do with the fundamentals of GameStop itself anymore, and much more to do with sort of pop psychology of who's going to be left holding the bag. The thing that concerns me most at this point is whether some of these investors will actually start to get out today. They'll look at this and say, we won the game, if that's winning. Unclear where the finish line is in that regard. But as much pain as they may have created for Melvin Capital, for example, my great anxiety at this point is the number of retail investors that have been jumping into this literally in the last 24 hours, who very well may get hurt far more and lose far more than some of the hedge funds that were involved in this. Let's just show you where we are right now. Joe mentioned at the top of the program Elon Musk tweeting yesterday, which also powered the stock even higher. I mean, there's nothing normal about what you're seeing when it comes to this stock right now. Stock up 51% on Friday, 18% on Monday, 92% yesterday. As I said, soaring in the pre-market.
There we go. So this show is not normally a financial show, but this ties into freedom, by the way, and where the market is trying to kick the little guy, so to speak. Bill, what do you say?
Well, when I looked into this a little bit, This happened before. I don't know if you guys, maybe you do remember Volkswagen. So Volkswagen was tanking at one point. This is back in '06. And they had a short run. I think they were 80 to 85% shorts on them. And people were like, no, I believe in Volkswagen. And then the same thing happened. All these regular guys over there started buying the stock. And then all the people that had the shorts had to bail out. Volkswagen went up to $1,000 a share. So this is not the first time, but it is the first time that the government intervened and put a stop on the ability to buy. You know what I mean? So this is, we're breaking eggshells here that, we thought were solid, but now we see that they're playing games with us because they're not used to losing. Right. They're like the Patriots. They're like, what? We lost? What? So, I mean, now that, what was it, billions of dollars to get out of this, those guys? So I mean,
Melvin Capital lost $30 billion.
Yeah, they're not used to losing.
They had to get a loan of $3 billion to even stay in business. That was yesterday. There's other firms out there are losing big time, billions of dollars, and they're saying that the financial collapse could happen when all these hedge funds go under. That's what they're saying. They're scaring people, I guess.
Well, you remember there's that too big to fail. Okay, we've been through this before. We've been through the too big to fail, and we watched that as it was our responsibility to bail out Wall Street last time. You think we're getting off this time? Right. I don't. I think Biden will just write them checks if they fail. I honestly believe that. I mean, they're not going to fail. I don't think that they're going to let these guys fall on their face because there's always somebody to catch them.
This could usher in the big reset.
Yeah, well, we talked about that. And once again, I mean, every little crisis that they create lets them legislate, remove freedom, and just prove that, we're further down the rungs than we thought we were.
Right. Well, let's take a look at this hedge fund company talking about how we just got these checks in the mail and we're sending them back to buy GameStop stocks. Take a look at this.
Yeah. The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government, okay? And this fair share is a bullshit concept. It's just a way of attacking wealthy people, and I think it's inappropriate. We all got to work together and pull together.
All right, so everybody's sitting at home getting their $600 checks and taking that into the stock market.
Like I said, those guys that have, fancy yachts parked in Manhattan that they just sit there to drink martinis on, they're not used to losing, and they're pretty upset right now. I can only imagine.
Right. What say you, Norm?
I say, well, I got when I went on to my, I got a Ameritrade account, and warning popped up immediately. I think what Ameritrade was doing, limiting your margin buys. If you got 20,000 in hard money and you want to leverage 15 of that to buy more, I did see where they put restrictions on these stocks for margin buys. I got bit 20 something years ago in margin. Never do it again. Like, the dog's dying. I can't keep feeding it. Right. But here's what listen, it's a game, and I agree. They're not used to losing. But I also don't believe in buying stocks with money you don't have. Now, I know that that's what Ameritrade was doing, was trying to limit their exposure, right? With their hedge funds that they're doing business with. I've got a new theory on stocks. Unless that stock's paying me a quarterly dividend, that company can make $2 billion. I'm not getting any of it. Okay. Right. And this is what I've realized, that it doesn't really matter about the profitability of the company. What their bottom line is. If they're not paying me a dividend, then I'm not making money on that stock. I'm sitting there speculating that it's going to go up, while others are speculating against me that it's going to go down. Right. And I don't ride that train too much. Now, back in 2008, he was talking about buyouts and stuff. Ford Motor Company did not take a buyout from the federal government. The stock dropped one day to $1. I bought it at $1.80 and sold it at $14.50.
That's good.
Nice. I thought that was great. This time around, Cisco, when all the restaurants closed, it was an $84 stock. It dropped to $26. I picked it up for my son at $31 and some change, and we just sold it a couple weeks ago for $76 or $77. Those are the kind of deals I look at. Right. I'm not, and I don't know that he's a role model for this, but one thing Warren Buffett did say, he says, I never buy stock when it's going up.
Oh, no.
And there were deals to be made back in '08 and this time, but it falls back on cash is king. Now I can tell you, Big Brother is not going to allow the manipulation that you see right now to continue, because unless we're going to be underwritten by the gold standard, which we're not right now, we're at the mercy of the Rothschilds. They can't afford for this thing to tank, so they're going to do whatever they have to do to stop it. Now, if one thing this has done, it's identified a hole, and mark my word, within 30 days or less, you'll see that hole plug, never to be reopened again.
Oh,
absolutely. And if the Bidens are worth their Democratic salt, it'll be with legislation, so regulation. This will be closing the hole where the little guy can get 4 million users on a social media platform and get everybody to spend $100 and literally crush somebody else.
They're going to close that hole.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So, I mean, we have Dave talking about this yesterday. Now, the stock went down today because they stopped people from buying, but let's take a look and see what he said.
Okay, emergency press conference time. There's a million things. This is like my 8th emergency press conference in 10 minutes. Wall Street Bets, the Reddit thread, the Reddit page that largely responsible for the madness right now in the stock market with GameStop, AMC, NOC, NOK, shut down. I don't know how it happened, but shut the suits. The people in the ivory towers got to Reddit. Reddit shuts them down. Are they doing anything illegal? No. Are they doing anything illegal? No. Are they playing within the rules? Yes. Is it just the fat cats and hedge funds don't like people, the everyday retail bro, fucking with their money, even though they'll fuck with your money? Yes. That's exactly what it is. But here's the thing. And let's be clear, I let it ride. I have like over $1 million in AMC and NOC. Getting hit a little bit right now since they took out Wall Street Bets. I'm not saying it because I own it. I would buy more right now. I may buy more, even though I already get a shit ton of that. That's like how much I want to risk. But I know internet psychology. You can't stop the internet. You can't beat the internet. It's like fucking Michael Scott. You shut down Michael Scott paper company. He's got a million different fucking names. I don't know what's going to happen with Wall Street Bets. It should come back. You should be able to censor what is just people saying, buy this stock, buy that stock. You shouldn't be able to do that. It's criminal. It's gross that they got rid of it. It just shows you who you, I, and everyone else is fighting against. The suits and the fat cats. But I know internet psychology. I think tomorrow will be the biggest day we've seen yet for AMC, NOC, and GameStop. I think you're going to see a big fuck you to whoever took that out. I would bet, well, I already bet. I got $1 million on it. But I bet tomorrow they rise up, and the stocks that you've been hearing about, AMC, GameStop, NOK, NOC, Nokia, I think they're going to explode. And it's going to be a big fuck you that you can't stop this, and it's going to make what they want 1,000% worse. This now could go on forever. That's honestly how I feel. You can't just be like, pull.
There we go. So, wow. Now, that was yesterday, and the stocks went down only because they took them off, so they couldn't buy anymore. Now, just breaking news, by the way, Facebook has taken down the popular Wall Street discussion group. So, Facebook has removed and banned those groups. And it looks like Robinhood, just a few minutes ago, they might be going bankrupt, going bye-bye. So. Yeah,
because they were a part of that. What was it, the Merrick group? So I mean, they basically were caught with their pants down. That they were part of that. So I mean, they're gonna have to pay the piper. I mean, they did something that was unprecedented by. I don't know if you remember when they started, they were like Robinhood, the IPO of Robinhood was let the people trade, let the people buy and sell. So when they literally stopped people from buying, they went against everything that they were built on. So they're pretty much done as far as I'm concerned. And I feel bad because some people are going to get burned because they're going to come in late to this.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to think like, oh yeah, I just got paid on Friday. Let me buy $5,000 worth. But they don't realize it's in a tailspin now, that everybody that got the money is getting out. So I hope that maybe some of our subscribers don't think that they're still in this game because the big players already made the money,
Right.
in my opinion.
It is up 64% in after hours, though.
Oh, I know, but once I learned that the big capital guys, the big hedge fund guys spent billions to get out, the rest of this is fluctuation from everybody trying to get in. And then some people are like, oh, I made $20 a share. I'll get out for $20 a share. So, I mean, the real winners were the guys that bought in originally at $13 and held this thing and sold at $335. Right. Those are the winners. And you know what? God bless those guys if they really did hang in there that long.
Well, the most popular app for buying stock is Robinhood, and the zero hedge, they said they folded. They were out there desperately looking for money today. I guess they couldn't find it.
Yeah, they're done. I mean, they did unprecedented things. They took unprecedented risks. I think they're probably not going to recover.
Right.
But that's just an app. I think these hedge funds guys, they hedge their bets among each other as well. So it's almost like a money market of spreading the like a bookie, for example, like a bookie. Oh, I got $10 million on the Buccaneers. I need at least 11 million on the Eagles or whatever. So I mean, you spread that around until you just break even. And I know a lot of these guys are positioning themselves to break even. I mean, that'll be surviving at this point.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the press secretary. I know this press secretary is Norm's favorite person, but let's take a look and see what he said, or she said.
Circle back.
And I had a follow up on the markets and everything that's happening with GameStop. You did mention, I believe, yesterday that the Treasury Secretary is monitoring the situation and she's kind of on top of it. There have been some kind of concerns about her previous engagements with Citadel and speaking fees that she has received from Citadel. Are there any plans to have her recuse herself from advising the president on GameStop and the whole Robinhood situation?
Well, just to be clear, what I said was that we have the Treasury Secretary is now confirmed. Obviously, we have a broad economic team. The SEC put out a statement yesterday that I referred to, but I don't think I have anything more for you on it, other than to say, separate from the GameStop issue, the Secretary of Treasury is one of the world-renowned experts on markets, on the economy. It shouldn't be a surprise to anyone she was paid to give her perspective and advice before she came into office.
All right, so Citadel, which owns Robinhood, paid Janet Yellen $810,000 in speaking fees.
Well, Janet Yellen, I mean, when Biden created this all-star team of people that everybody talks about on the left-wing news, which is basically Obama 2.0, add some Facebook and Google people, and then bring in Janet Yellen, who is just the print money extraordinaire person in chief. I mean, guess what? I can only imagine how deeply her people are involved in this. Honestly, like, those people, I mean, listen, you start rubbing elbows, you meet a few people on the golf course, next thing you know, you're on their yacht, next thing you know, you're on their plane, right. You're in pretty deep. So, I mean, she's obviously pulled a few strings because she had some involvement in this too. So, I mean, it went all the way up to the White House, which could be bad for them later. Yeah. I like to see how this plays out.
Yeah, there it is. Man claims that Robinhood employee says White House pressured halt of GameStop trading. So So that's the article there. So what say you, Norm? I mean, what's the answer to all this?
Well, if the federal government, which is us as taxpayers, are going to underwrite certain private enterprises, in other words, we're going to be their golden parachute, okay, that's not free enterprise, right. Okay? Now, Big Brother wants all our money to go and do this, but I'm personally not a fan of government buyout at any level because it is contrary to what we it's not a free enterprise system. When if there's 3 of us in the room and we're all going belly up, but 2 of us have connections, then we're going to stay afloat and the other guy's going under.
Right.
I don't believe in that. So I understand why the White House is doing it, because again, how is our system, what underwrites our monetary system in this country? You know, we're not under the old gold standard anymore. I think that's something we need. I guess you guys have talked about that before, but the more that we print the money and we dilute the amount of money, we're opening ourselves up to so much foreign acquisition, which he's going to entertain.
Oh yeah.
My wife is in financial business, and I can tell you, with what she does, you would be shocked at the amount of foreign investment going into this country. At the dollar as strong as it is right now, can you imagine if the dollar gets even weaker? These countries, and I'm talking China.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
From China buying up over Hollywood, they're buying up a bunch of land.
I mean, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, they're going to be picking stuff up for 10 and 15 cents on the dollar, because the dollar's not going to be worth anything anymore.
Exactly. Well, that's when the Great Reset happens. I guess you've been hearing about that, Norm, about the Great Reset. So the doctor that was talking about that in Canada, did you ever see that video?
No.
Well, we played it. We were banned for playing it, by the way. He was scrubbed off the internet. He's no longer. You can't find the video anywhere. He was in Parler, but of course they took out Parler. But he was talking about in Canada, the Liberal Party was saying in the third quarter there's going to be a global economic collapse, and it's going to be called the Great Reset. It's going to be called Build Back Better, Great Reset. You can hear all these terms. And that's what they're trying to do, is that they have a global. We talked about the Davos last week or a couple shows ago, and how the Great Reset's going to happen. So take a look at that. You'll see what's going on with that. But for right now, we're going to move to another subject. We're going to talk more to you, Norm, about what happened, your friends, and January 6th. We're going to talk about communism and Antifa. We have a couple of videos of that. So Norm, now January 6th, I know you weren't nowhere around January in Washington, but some of your friends were. Tell me what they did when they came back. I mean, I understand the FBI came and visited them at home.
Yeah, I mean, people that they can put on the ground, whether they were just boots on the ground outside the Capitol, at the rally, or anywhere near that Capitol building, they're being sought out through social media. Now, what's really odd is, Facebook is always very protective, except for when it works in their favor. So they're giving information to the FBI, and they're getting these people's information, and they're either getting phone calls or they're getting visits. They're not all under investigation, don't get me wrong, but what they're seeking is, information. Did you see anything? Do you have any video? They're trying to identify suspects. Now, I was in law enforcement for almost 16 years. Okay. If somebody breaks into a building and they're still in there, okay, I'm not going to let them out and then go to try to find them 30 days later. Okay. If you're the federal government guarding the Capitol building and 800 insurgents, as they say, are in there, who in their right mind is going to let 800 people leave? Now, understand, one person lost their life inside the Capitol. That became a murder scene. Do you know when a police officer shoots a civilian, all right, it is investigated as a homicide.
Right.
And if he's found justified in the shooting, then the cause, it's a justifiable homicide.
Right.
People don't realize that every time a law enforcement officer uses deadly force, it is investigated as a homicide, and then it's determined whether it was justified or not.
Sure.
That was a crime scene.
Right.
Now,
we had the video, and it definitely was homicide.
Yeah. So how do you let the Congress back in there 3 hours later? I don't know how that wasn't shut down.
Right.
Other issues I have with that, I can tell you, there were parts of the Capitol, based on eyewitness accounts, where they were fighting with police. I do not condone that. They were pushing them with bike racks, trying to push their way in. And apparently the police were not talking too well with each other, because on the other side of the building, they were opening the doors and bringing them all in, how do you fight people to stay out on one side of the building, but if you walk around to the other wing, oh yeah, come on in and just parade on in. Now, if I were ones being questioned by federal government authorities about why I was in the Capitol, I would say, because you guys told me, y'all directed me to go in there. I would never admit that you had me over there unless, fighting my way into the Capitol. I personally don't think they had any business. I understand why they went into the Capitol.
Right.
Okay. I understand that. But there was the problem with the group that went in there, other than the Antifas that actually originated that whole process of going up in there, is the good folks that went in there, the patriots.
Right.
They had no plan other than to look at paintings and statutes and take pictures. They didn't know what to do with themselves.
Well, that's what I said when they first went in there. I said, they're not going to keep the Capitol because they have no plan. That wasn't their plan. Yeah. Yeah, if you have a plan to keep the Capitol, that's one thing.
No, and it was, well, you have Capitol Police, you've got DC Police.
Right.
They're all democratically run and operated.
Right.
There is not a agency in this country that is run by a Democrat that has their shit together. Not one. If you can name me one city run by a Democrat, whether it's government or law enforcement, that runs with half a brain, then please, by all means, tell me the name of that city, because I would like to move there. I don't believe it. I don't think they're capable of doing that.
Yeah, we showed everyone. There's not one in the United States that's ran good at all.
I heard. Wait, real quick. I heard on today, on the radio, that the Capitol Police are as well funded as St. Louis, Missouri Police Department. So the difference is those cops have to patrol the entire city of St. Louis, Missouri, where the Capitol Police basically do like 200 buildings, and some of those buildings are offices. Like there's one guy here, one guy there, but the Capitol normally has hundreds of guys. The Pentagon said, hey man, you guys want some help? Like, we heard there's going to be 400,000 to 600,000 people. You want backup? The sergeant at arms, the guy who resigned, said, no, we got this. We got this, which made zero sense, because, I mean, I've never been a law enforcement officer, but I've worked security, and at a concert, you wanted every single body that you could get, because you never knew what was going to happen. They sent those guys out without helmets. They sent those guys out with like bare minimum, man. I mean, it was almost as if it was a destroy from within. And I mean, I'd say to say that guy, Howard Liebengood, the guy that shot the girl, he's the guy that took his own life. He's the guy that shot the woman through the door. He was the Senate, regular, cop. And I mean, the thing that sucks about it is that the upper management failed some of the good cops that were there. Some of the guys that really just wanted it to go down without any incident. And in a police environment, you're going to have 600,000 people there. You're not going to call every single able-bodied person that you have to work? I mean, they were understaffed. It makes zero sense. It was a setup.
What do you think it was set up?
I think the Antifa thing was a setup. I think they knew they were there. I think they knew that they were going inside the building. I think a lot of patriots got caught up in it and got invited into the fray. I think emotions were high. Listen, I got news for you. My man Donald Trump, he wasn't saying anything new that day. If you've seen one speech on Donald, it was the same. It was a broken record with him that day. There was no new revelation coming out. A lot of the people told me that they had already left over at Donald's address and was actually walking over towards the rally because they thought there were going to be additional speakers over there speaking. They didn't go in there to create an insurrection, to go in there and hold Nancy Pelosi hostage. That's all bullshit. Now, were there people in the groups that were not patriots dressed as patriots? Well, the guy from Utah, Sullivan, I mean, he's a prime example. He got out. You talk about inciting a riot. He got out there, I think, back over the summer with a microphone, yelling and cussing, saying that he was going to go in there and drag the president out by his ass out of the White House.
John Sullivan.
Okay, well,
we had a show.
Go ahead.
We had a show on John Sullivan. So yeah, that's John Sullivan. He's an Antifa. He had a CNN reporter embedded with him too as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I asked a guy, a friend of mine, that's a part of my group down here. I said, when you walked over to the Capitol, and he was right there, and the FBI had contacted him just to see if he had any evidentiary value, and he told him no. I said, well, let me ask you this. I said, did you feel compelled to go break windows and run up into the Capitol based on what the president said? He said, no. And if you go back and listen to the speech, now listen, if Donald Trump had wanted to incite a riot, there would have been more than 800 people in that Capitol. Everybody in Washington, D.C. would have tore the building down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. If the president of the United States had that many people at his rally, okay, and he said, go over there and take that damn building and every brick with it, there would be nothing left of that building but a foundation. That did not occur.
Oh, yeah. Unlike Antifa, when they go to a building, they burn it down.
They're protected.
Right, they are. They are, because John Sullivan got out that same day. His charge was probably dropped. I hadn't checked it out yet. But let's take a look at Ted Cruz today on China. Then we'll go into an Antifa movie here real quick. Antifa video. Take a look.
This is also requiring cooperation with China. Look, we talk about China a lot on this program. We have all week. But John Kerry said, cooperation with China is the key to progress on climate change. And that climate is the #1 issue between the U.S. and China, as if China has not broken promise after promise across the world.
Well, Maria, that's right. And there is a hopeless naivete among the Biden administration. One of the really disturbing patterns that we've seen come out in this past week with Biden nominee after Biden nominee is a warm embrace of China. That you want to talk about one of the most dramatic shifts the next 4 years are going to entail is the Biden administration crawling into bed with China. I asked multiple Biden nominees, for example, whether they would maintain Huawei on the entities list because Huawei is a global espionage company masquerading as a telecom company. Not a single one of the Biden nominees was willing to commit to keep Huawei on that list. And I'll tell you today in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, we had the confirmation hearing for Biden's nominee to be ambassador to the United Nations. She disclosed that just a little over a year ago, in October of 2019, she gave a paid speech before a Confucius Institute. Now, Confucius Institutes, as you know, are paid for by the Chinese Communist Party, paid for by the Chinese government. They engage in espionage and propaganda. I authored bipartisan legislation in the Senate that passed into law that has shut down dozens of Confucius Institutes. Well, Biden's nominee to be UN ambassador just over a year ago gave a paid speech there praising China and saying America needs to be more like China. This is dangerous that this administration, as a policy decision, is embracing and getting into bed with China.
All right, so there we go. So as we know, the Democrat Party wants to turn us into China. I mean, that's the known fact. They want to have a system just like that and tear down this United States of America. Bill, what do you say?
Well, one thing I want to say that I just found out from a reliable source that Ted Cruz gets death threats almost every single day. Okay, so ever since Ted Cruz went into those chambers and said he wanted an audit of the votes, it has been nonstop death threats. Not to focus on Cruz, because I know it's about what he's saying, but like that guy who maybe I had different opinions on in the past, that dude is still standing up. And he's literally had his family threatened. He's had his personal, like his well-being threatened, his mother. I mean, they hold Antifa and all these people, they have nothing to lose. They live in their mom's basement. For them to tell Ted Cruz they're going to, shoot his mom in the face is nothing to them. But this guy has to still go into that swamp and do these things that somewhat represent us. So I want to give Ted Cruz a little bump. But on the flip side of that, what he's talking about has so much weight because what we watched is basically Biden lie to the American public. Okay, we watched Biden say he wasn't going to ban fracking. First thing he did was a 100-day moratorium on fracking, and you know what I mean. And he's destroying the Keystone Pipeline jobs. We watched that happen in real time, and those jobs, like we talked about it before, they're not minimum wage jobs. They're family supporting jobs that now all of a sudden some guy is like, man, I don't know if I can pay the mortgage next month because this guy did that. And I'm also in the great Northeast where I just watched diesel go up 80 cents a gallon in a week. That's unprecedented. That doesn't happen. So this is the thing. We're probably looking at $4 regular and $5 diesel in no time. And I'm in the trucking industry and I'm watching this happen in real time. And there are still Biden supporters who are like, oh, but he's going to fix the environment. And I'm like, are you an idiot? Because in real time, this is American families sucking this, dude. They're sucking the mortgage payments that they can't make. They're sucking the fact that they got to put $60 in their gas tank instead of $30. I mean, you can't get any more offensive to the American people than Joe Biden.
Right. Well, Norm, we're going to talk about Antifa. We're going to show this last video here, and then we're going to go into what your organization does in North Florida. Tell us a little bit about that, and we're going to recap this video. So take a look.
Nazis go home! Nazis go home! Nazis go home!
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
Cities burn. Times to be organized and orchestrated chaos.
They call everybody they disagree with Nazis.
I felt like I had no choice but to do what I did.
So yeah, kill them. Kill the Nazis.
Long live the socialist revolution.
When conditions become right, people do get the opportunity to change the whole system through a revolutionary struggle.
The International Revolutionary People's Guerrilla Forces work to defend social revolutions around the world.
We gotta fight it out. We're gonna remake this country in the street.
Liberals get the f***ing wall first.
There we go. So Antifa is communism, and that's what they're trying to show there. So tell me, have you, I understand you went to Tallahassee and you met some of the Proud Boys. Tell me a little bit about that, though.
So January 6th, me and another guy in my group, we went over there and stood in front of the Capitol for several hours. We got word that they were storming the Capitol building in Washington, so we started following that. But yeah, there were 100 Proud Boys. The Proud Boys put a call out to go to the capitals in every state. Okay, so I mean, they had representation all the way down from South Florida up in Tallahassee. We were there for about 3 hours. I mean, we had a few people drive by, and give us the finger or whatever, but for the most part, it was very peaceful, no incidents. Tallahassee was pretty much closed down. But I will tell you that I do want to address this Antifa thing. Antifa is, by their own admission, they're a domestic terrorist group. Okay. The funny part about Antifa is Biden is not getting the hall pass either. Their agenda is not about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Their agenda is about them and them only. And the funny part is, and I'm buying popcorn, is they're going to continue in soft targeted areas where Democrats protect them. They're going to continue to wreak havoc in those areas. Okay. Right. Portland, for an example, I will tell you, Donald Trump sent federal troops. Well, he sent Homeland Security up there to protect federal buildings because the local government would not allow him to do what needed to be done to sweep the streets. Okay. Right. Do you know who was up there fighting with Antifa every single night? And when I say fighting, I mean fighting. You know who it was?
No.
It's Proud Boys. Okay.
Okay.
Now, you can spin them any way you want, but there was only one group of guys up there going head to head with Antifa every single night and kept most of Portland from being burned beyond what was already burned. And right. I'm talking head to head. They were full blown. Okay. Going head to head up there. Down here in Florida where we are, okay, we've had some quasi Black Lives Matter, not really Antifa type movements down here. And the reason why is we're not a soft targeted area yet. Okay. Right. But Jacksonville, where I live, Duval County is swinging that way. Right. And they've started to go out, even like where you are, I know where you live, in the outlying little towns, right. They go out there and they probe and see what kind of reactions they're going to get. They're not going to be met with the same inaction that they are met in Seattle, right. Chicago, Portland. The people in these communities down here are not going to tolerate that. Now, first line of defense is always local law enforcement. Okay, but based on resources or politics, local law enforcement may be unwilling or unable to respond in what we call reset the peace in that community. At some point, we have to reconcile within ourselves individually. Are we going to sit there and eat the sandwich? Or are we going to actually stand up and do something? And I tell this to all my patriot friends all the time. Right. Our problem is our own selves. We have become very complacent. We have very good lives. And we have not been thrust into anything like this. I can tell you Antifa is well armed, they're well financed, and they're well trained. But here's the kicker. Every state of the union, including Florida, where I live, has an anti-paramilitaristic act on the books, on the state statutes. It's a felony in these states if 2 or more people get together and train for the purpose of furthering civil disobedience or disorder. Okay, that's the key right there. Burning buildings, there's nothing orderly about it. So if you don't think those states in Oregon and these other places have laws on the books that would have permitted state officials, law enforcement, to go in there and arrest every single one of them for a felony, you're wrong. They chose not to. So me personally, if Portland, Oregon burns to the ground, I couldn't give two cents less. Okay, let it burn. Okay, you voted those people into office, you get what you got. Now down here, I can tell you, we're not going to stand by. We support our local law enforcement. We support our military. But I promise you this: if there's a weak link in that chain, and they think that they're going to set up a city of peace or love or whatever they did, it's not going to happen. Okay, we the citizens will go out there and reset the peace if we have to.
Right. I agree with that. I mean, I'm for that. So as far as your organization, did you form this organization that you're going to talk about now, or somebody else do that?
So there was an original organization, and I kind of spun off of them. Okay. It covers 12 counties. I say 12 counties. We've got members all over the United States because the platform that we use can be plug and play in any community, and every community should have you should come together, like-minded people that are patriots, and stand together, because you never know in a time of need. If you've got 300 people outside of your house or your business, you don't want to be alone. You want to have 300 friends that you can count on if law enforcement isn't coming or can't get there.
Sure.
And the group that I oversee is called Operation Freedom. We're on Facebook still. The only thing you'll see on there now is where we have county chapter events.
Okay.
We've moved over to the other social platform, which is MeWe, which is pretty decent, but it's going to have to work some kinks out. But our website is that's opfreedom.org, and you can go on there and get a list of everything. To define our group, we're a constitutional group. We believe in the United States Constitution, regardless of who's in office in Washington. That should not matter. The Constitution is the Constitution, whether Republicans in office or a Democrat. We're particularly concerned about First and Second Amendment rights, okay? When it comes to Second Amendment rights, I'm here to tell you that I know of 2,200 people that are not giving them up. So whoever signs up to go get the guns that day, that's probably not going to be a good day for them, because we're not giving our guns up. I don't care who signs the executive order. It's not going to happen in this country. Right. Now, I don't want to preach, but let me say this to you guys. I'm 57 years old. Okay. I remember in politics where there was always middle ground, where two factions can have a conversation.
Right.
I'm here to tell you that no longer exists. The right is so right, the left is so left. There's no middle ground. Right. And people say, well, we may have a civil war coming. Listen, we've been in a civil war for 4 years. Mm-hmm. It's not fought as it would traditionally be fought, but we are in a war. We have been in a war, right. And it's going to get worse. I do believe that. The only hope that I see is not much, but I'm forced. I know it sounds extreme, but it's happened before. If my state came tomorrow and said we're seceding from the union, I'd be first to sign up. I want out.
Right.
This is not the country that I want to live in the way it is. No.
Well, that's
succession or full-blown war.
Yeah, I don't see how civil war can happen unless states succeed. That's the only way I could think that would be like a separation of where the war could happen.
Now, my understanding is Texas 5 communication grids in the United States, and I understand Texas has one all to themselves. And I've heard people that know more about it than me say that if any state could succeed tomorrow and be self-sustaining, it would be Texas. Well, if that's the case, I'd be looking for a house because I'd probably want to move there.
Right. I think Bill, we talked about that a couple of shows ago. Is that right, Bill?
Yeah. And also what's going on behind the scenes, the Democrats are injecting, they have 3 bills, okay? And I did a special, it's going to be released, it's out there on HR 127, I think it is. So the First Amendment protects the Second. The Second Amendment protects the Fourth. So the third is this weird amendment where it's like for, back in the 1800s where they can't force you to have a soldier sleep in your house. So that made it into the amendments, and I get it. But the fourth is really important too, and that's a legal search and seizure. And I think they're literally going to go like dominoes. They're attacking the first. The second is going to go. They'll probably skip the Third Amendment and they're going to go right to the fourth, because what they really want is to be able to come into your house and find a crime. And that's why this new bill makes every single firearm that you own a crime. If it's magazine fed, if it has a pistol grip, and it's black, green, gray, or some other color, it's a military grade firearm. And that's what you have to be scary about, because all of those people who ran out and said, you know what, I watched Antifa and BLM literally burn down businesses. I want an AR-15 because I want to be able to take on more than one person or more than 2 person. And if this government has proved anything, it's that when they fail, you as an individual have to be able to defend your property against 20 or 30 people. God willing, you have an AR-15 or something even better, because crowd violence is their mantra. This is how they work. So they're using crowd violence and they're escalating it. Meanwhile, they're trying to take away your Second Amendment rights. They've already taken the First Amendment, in my opinion, because we were on 7 platforms. Now we're fighting to stay on 2, and we're fighting for people to subscribe to us. So, and we are on the small level. There are so many people that lost millions of followers that had a voice. And the reason they're afraid of us is because the truth is always going to be easy to defend. The lie is what takes a lot of effort to defend. Truth, you just put it out there and everybody goes, yep, that's true. And then that's the end of it. But here we are defending our First, our Second, and probably our Fourth Amendment rights under this Joe Biden regime. And there is no way to backpedal on this. And you know what Norm was talking about, where you have neighborhoods of people who are like, okay, we know that the local PD only has 16 officers. And if you're smart, you'll look into that. You'll know if you're in a small town America, look into how many officers you have. And those 16 officers will do their best for you, but that's all they have. So if you have 60 residents in your neighborhood who understand that there's only one way in and one way out of your neighborhood, then you become the ultimate force to stop the bullshit from coming into your neighborhood. And it starts small and it grows from there. So anybody there's a lot of people out there that are like, I want to join a militia. I want to join this giant thing. No, start small. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to the people that you're close to that have something to lose, because those people that have something to lose are going to definitely be with you when the shit hits the fan and everything's on fire around you. So you don't need to run out tri-county militia. Start small and build from there, because that is where you have people you trust. And I think trust is the biggest thing in the militia phase, because there's so many federal people that are trying to infiltrate quote unquote militias under the Democratic guise of Joe Biden. You're going to see all these new people come in. Anyone who's got a 2,000 or 3,000 person militia, you're going to see these new guys like, hey, I'm new. I want a bunch of AK-47s. I want to shoot stuff. Where do I sign up? Watch out for those guys, because they are CIA spooks, most likely FBI. Watch out for those. You need to protect your your neighbors first and foremost. Neighbors, people you love, know how you can get to your relatives and grandmom and grandpa. Start there and work outward. Don't go online and join militia.com, because it's probably a CIA operative.
Well, Norm, I know you're not a CIA operative, are you?
Absolutely.
No, but he's got a point. So, right now, the interpretation is if you wear an American flag or a camouflage hat, you're a white racist, you're a supremacist, you're a militia. Right. What we are, we're a constitutional group. We share information about our constitutional rights. So far, that hasn't been outlawed or become a felony, so we continue to do that. Part of the stuff that we do too is a lot of the members, they will hold training sessions, and on the county breakouts, they'll hold training sessions for like canning, food preservation. Yep. I'm not saying we're apocalyptic or doomsdayers, but listen, I can remember without all that crap where, we couldn't even get toilet paper a few months ago.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you can't eat toilet paper, but at the same time, if you eat, you need toilet paper. But, the thing of it is, I'm a country boy. I know I can go out in the backwoods and it may be a squirrel, but I'm going to eat something that day. Okay.
Yep.
A lot of the new generation, they don't get that. They think all food comes from the grocery store. They don't understand the process there. So what we are a constitutional group, and let me quantify what we do. We don't train for civil disorder. We actually have airsoft competitions. I'll just leave it at that. We go out and there's airsoft businesses out there in big warehouses. Yeah. So we train with airsoft, but tactically we're dialing in our skill sets, because you never know if it comes down to it. I can tell you, to his point a minute ago, it said he thinks it'll go First, Second, and Fourth Amendment. You're right. The First Amendment's already whacked. It's gone. They may get to the Fourth Amendment they may try to get to the Second Amendment by using the Fourth Amendment on illegal search and seizure. I'm here to tell you, friend, that is not going to be a good day. If you want to know when the actual thing, when it's blown out and we just got to call it what it is, when they send out the executive order for them to go out to these houses and remove these firearms from these people's homes, there is going to be a bloodletting in this country like you'd think it was Armageddon, because it will rise as high as the horse's bridle. It ain't no joke. People are not getting their guns. It's not going to happen. So if they want that war, if that's truly what they want and that's their end game, then go ahead and sign the executive order tomorrow and let's get it over with. Right. Let's move on beyond that. But don't threaten me like you're going to come and get it. Just show up and see what happens. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. Right. The people in the country are not going to give in to that. No.
I don't think so either. Maybe even Biden voters won't go for that either. Some of them anyway.
And that's the crazy part. I know a lot of Democrats that they have firearms. They're not giving up their firearms.
No.
No.
Well, let's see what in 6 months what Biden voters say. I have a video of that. Take a look.
All right.
Yeah, listen. We fucked up.
That's what's going to happen hopefully in 6 months.
You're right though. I come into contact with more than a few liberals that work with me, and they're not on like the grunt side, we'll call it, and they have all these ideologies like, they think that there's somehow, some way going to be a transgender guy coming in to do what we do. And I'm like, they might make that into law, but I really doubt some transgender type is going to just want to hump a bunch of keg of beer down a flight of steps. It's just not going to happen. The transgender movement is not going to take legs. And like, the funny thing is right now, my daughter's in competitive archery, and it's a slap in the face to females who are out there competing in sports that Joe Biden would sign an executive order that allows males who identify as females compete in these things. Like, we're watching in real time Joe Biden erase everything that makes sense as a man or a woman. Like, so to have a man who identifies as a female compete in archery against my daughter, okay, obviously, like, for example, my daughter gets tired after about 40 arrows. I can shoot 60 to 80, and I'm an old man. So, I mean, here's the thing. Could an 18-year-old shoot 100 arrows on point and beat my daughter and identify as a female? Yes. And this is the weird left agenda where they have to attack our females. So, like, one thing I want to touch on is how important it is to be able to have a breeding population. And this is something that probably nobody will touch on, but we're being also outbred, because as an agenda, we look at the world and we say, whoa, it's not a great time to have a baby. But everybody else who is of a different whatever persuasion is like, let's breed, let's have babies. And if we are the ones that don't, we're going to eventually become overrun and no longer relevant. And it's not only being relevant as male and female. Now that Joe Biden has crossed the line and said males are females, females are males, it is what it is. I mean, we're watching in real time the America fall into a place where we don't recognize ourselves.
Well, you're right, Bill. I mean, it's going down the hill. Norm, this is going to be the show for tonight. It's a little longer than we normally do, but do you have any last words, Norm?
Well, yeah, I'm waiting on my reparations because my Ancestry.com said I'm 1% Molly. So right. I'm going to sit home and wait on my check along those same.
Yes.
I'm agree because, everybody's 1%. You know that?
Yeah, everybody's one. So we all should get a check.
We should. I agree. I don't think we're going to get one, though.
Keep your heads down, but keep them on a swivel. It's not going to get any better anytime soon. And be prepared.
Yes, definitely. And go check out what was your website again?
It's opfreedom.org, operation.org, opfreedom.org. You can find us on Facebook at Operation Freedom, and we're also on MeWe.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. I know you're going to come back again, hopefully. And
yes, sir.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Well, we do okay.
I think so. I mean, it is
when y'all are playing videos, I can't hear audio.
I know, I'm the same way. I go completely blind. Yeah. But I mean, I have the beauty of watching them first. Right. And you came in at like 7 something, so you didn't see it. But we'll